Wonder Woman has been in print almost continuously for 76 years. But despite an array of TV shows, TV movies, direct-to-DVD animations, and merchandise, the character has never starred in her own movie in cinemas. And that makes 2017's Wonder Woman a milestone. Tracking Wonder Woman through the years is like tracking the history of feminism.
Now go, unleash hell.
But while Wonder Woman has been dismissed or overlooked by studios and dissenters, she's meant a lot to women over the years.
Wonder Woman really is my hero. I mean, she's smart and beautiful, moral, and totally independent.
She's a demigoddess, an Amazonian warrior princess, and a founding member of the Justice League, a strong fighter who's also a pacifist. She's also inspired by early suffragettes.
She stands for justice and peace and wisdom and love and acceptance and compassion. All of these things are rare. They're becoming rare in our world.
So let's take a look at who Wonder Woman really is and how she's evolved over the years. Wonder Woman is also known as Diana Prince, or the Goddess of Truth herself. She was created in 1941 by psychologist William Marston. Marston wanted to make a female role model, or, quote, the new type of woman who should rule the world. Cue the birth of Wonder Woman. Diana was raised by her mother, Hippolyta, the Amazonian queen from Greek mythology, on Paradise Island, which in the 1987 relaunch following Crisis on Infinite Earths was renamed Themyscira. According to the relaunch, Greek goddesses made this home for the reincarnated souls of Amazon women murdered by men. No men are allowed on the island, but Diana nurses a U.S. Air Force pilot, Steve Trevor, back to health after his plane crashes there. So begins Diana's life in America and her identity as the superhero called Wonder Woman. The 2017 film, directed by Patty Jenkins and starring Gal Gadot, moves Diana's story to World War I instead of the original World War II. Witnessing war, Diana feels shock and disgust that parallels Steve Trevor's and others' horror at the new kind of brutal warfare introduced at that time. Compared to the Nazis, the enemy in the sprawling, complex World War I is also less clear-cut. So we could interpret that in keeping with Diana's peace-loving nature, the enemy here is war itself.
To the war.
Well, technically the war is that way, but we gotta go this way first.
I can barely remember what first attracted me to Wonder Woman because it was so natural. It happened when I was such a young child, and every child wants to be powerful and good and beautiful and effective. I was around in this wonderful renaissance of Wonder Woman because of the show. So Wonder Woman was like the thing to be. Your fantasy of everything great you could ever aspire to being.
Wonder Woman offers a useful mirror for the feminist movement in America. In 1972, Gloria Steinem put the character with the caption "Wonder Woman for President" on the first ever issue of Ms. magazine. The 2017 movie's choice to move Wonder Woman to the 1910s also evokes the era of the suffragettes, a key period in the history of feminism, which inspired Marston in creating Diana. He had a personal connection to the birth control icon Margaret Sanger, who was the aunt of Marston's lover, Olive Byrne. Marston lived in a polyamorous relationship with Olive and his wife and fellow psychologist Elizabeth Holloway Marston. Elizabeth reportedly had the idea to make Diana a woman in the first place, while Olive wore bracelets that inspired Wonder Woman's. Their non-traditional ideas and influence on the character shed light on how much progressive subtext we can confidently read into the original Wonder Woman. But Marston's image of the strong role model began to fade in 1947 when he died and Robert Kanigher took over. Starting in the 1950s, a psychiatrist named Frederick Wortham and various parent groups objected that the superhero was encouraging lesbianism in America's youth. Wonder Woman's powers were stripped away, and her stories began to center more around her love life, not as much around her using her superpowers to save others. The character of Wonder Woman suffered commercially for decades as a result. By the end of the 60s, Diana gives up her powers to stay on Earth with Steve Trevor and runs a boutique, using martial arts instead of her powers to fight crime. This version led to the 1974 made-for-TV movie starring Kathy Lee Crosby, which featured a flirtatious blonde secretary Wonder Woman. It was intended as a TV pilot, but not surprisingly, this Wonder Woman without powers and made to be Steve Trevor's assistant was pretty unpopular. A year later, Diana got her powers back for the iconic 1975-79 show starring Linda Carter. Carter's version focused on saving people and fighting the Nazis, showing the caring humanitarian superhero of Marston's original vision. In recent years, Wonder Woman has taken on a positive relationship to LGBT rights. In a 2015 issue, she officiates the marriage of 2 women, and one of the comic writers, Greg Rucka, has explicitly identified her as, quote, obviously bisexual. While there have been several female writers, the majority of the comics over the years have been written by men. The 2017 film also had no female writers, but significantly is directed by a woman, Patty Jenkins.
So the fact that I'm a woman or she's a woman or we're all women or whatever was a wonderful, deep part of it, but it also, you just tune it out completely because I'm just a filmmaker trying to make a film that I care about that much anyway.
Wonder Woman's superhuman abilities have shifted in nature over the years. Marston first gave her super strength and hand-to-hand combat skill, making her something of a female equivalent to Superman.
She is the archetypal ideal of the greatest woman of all time. She is the idealized universal woman, not unlike what Superman is to men.
Creator Marston also invented a key component of the polygraph machine, which may have inspired Wonder Woman's weapon of choice, the lasso of truth. Crafted by Hephaestus, the Greek god of smiths and metalworking, the lasso of truth forces anyone who comes in contact with it to obey all of Diana's commands and to tell the truth.
It's macho bravado, it's all a facade. Wait, why am I telling you this? God, I hope you Amazons can't mass-produce this thing.
She also uses the indestructible bracelets given to all Amazon women as her defense, her tiara as a razor-sharp boomerang, and the sandals of Hermes, the Greek messenger god, which allow her to travel at lightning speeds. By turning her accessories into powerful weapons, the comic found a fun way to invert the assumption that a female character might care about her clothes, weaponizing Diana's femininity in a positive way, as she becomes the strong savior of the occasional gentleman in jeopardy, Steve Trevor. She also uses traditionally male weapons like her sword and her shield, the combination creating a balance of masculine and feminine in her fighting.
How can a woman fight in this?
Ooh. From the very beginning, some readers objected to the bondage subtext of Wonder Woman's chains and her fondness for tying up her enemies. But Marston liked the feminist imagery of a woman breaking out of her chains. That's not to say it wasn't also a little kinky. Marston saw bondage as a positive sex practice. Diana's bracelets of submission are both a sign of loving submission to the goddesses and a reminder of her people's past enslavement. Diana's world is full of nods to Greek and Roman mythology. The name Diana is the Roman equivalent to Artemis, the virginal goddess of the hunt. Like her namesake, Diana is pure, close to nature, and fiercely independent. One of her recurring supervillains is Ares, the Greek god of war. Her fight against Ares underlines again that Diana's true enemy is war itself, and her life mission is to establish peace. Beautiful as Aphrodite, wise as Athena, stronger than Hercules and swifter than Hermes, she's also known for invoking goddesses through catchphrases like Great Aphrodite, Great Hera, and Merciful Minerva, and, to the Greek love poet, Suffering Sappho. The DC Universe's 2011 revamp, The New 52, changed the origin story that she was born from clay, and this was now said to be a cover-up for the truth that Diana is actually the daughter of Zeus. Born as Princess Diana, Wonder Woman uses the alias Diana Prince to disguise her true self.
Diana, Princess of the Myth.
Prince, Diana Prince.
But the name switch from princess to prince also plays on her combination of traditionally male and female qualities. She's as powerful as any male superhero, but she's also loving and caring. And a key part of Diana is that she's kind.
Being a hero is often not a proactive state of being, of going and punching somebody out. It ends up being so much more on an everyday scale about understanding and love and forgiveness and the complexity of life and how one uses your power as an adult wisely and kindly.
Marston's concept, before he thought about gender, was a superhero who would rule not through force but through love. She can easily dominate in a fight, but she's opposed to fighting at all. Marston wanted to correct the problem that, quote, our feminine archetype lacks force, strength, and power.
I lift cars. I can lift car door handles.
And he wanted to show that qualities traditionally seen as feminine and therefore written off, like being, quote, tender, submissive, peace-loving, end quote, are also strengths, not weaknesses.
She's everything. She can be vulnerable and sensitive and the greatest warrior ever, and strong and confident and confused. Like, she can be all of the above.
Let me try it by myself.
After you, sir.
Her feminine qualities also included her sex appeal and beauty. To this day, dissenters criticize her too perfect proportions. Protesters even pushed the UN to revoke her honorary ambassadorship, while others gave actress Gal Gadot a hard time for not, in their opinion, having the right measurements. Marston saw Wonder Woman as a sex-positive woman who represented myriad forms of strength, which didn't mean separating herself from her sexuality. While there's much debate to be had over the finer points, it's important to remember the bold and influential nature of Diana's feminist roots. Today, she continues her legacy as a strong role model for girls around the world.